Federal Audit Log, Division for Analytical Neuro-Technological Engineering, or DANTE. My name is Dr. Virgil Acheron, Senior Intelligence Neuro-technician, assigned to Project Arbiter. This record is for the Royal Archive. Per compliance protocol, all development logs must be retained for future review, should discrepancies arise. The request comes from the International Auditing Committee, or IAC. Their needs are precise, their expectations inflexible. They do not ask, they instruct. We are building an auditor, not an enforcer, not an executioner, a watcher, a machine designed to witness, to record, to report. It will not judge, it will not intervene. Yet its presence alone will alter the course of those who stand beneath its gaze. No act escapes observation. No omission remains unseen. Materials are gathered, sorted, assessed. All will be used, and all will be set aside once their purpose is served. A necessary cycle. Every structure begins with its foundation, and this one is no exception. A discarded casing, hollowed, stripped of excess, becomes the base upon which all else must rest, not chosen, but made to serve. The sensor array demands precision. A watcher must see, and so its head is set in careful alignment with human scale. A conduit is threaded through its base, binding it to the structure. Without this anchor, all else would be for nothing. Its back is braced first. A plate, reinforced against time and strain, is fixed into position. From these pieces, the spine emerges. A reinforced plate anchors its back, for even a watcher must bear the weight of its own design. The chest follows, armor-fitted and refitted, for at first it resists its purpose. Material is removed, space carved away to accommodate the whole. There can be no excess, no obstruction, only function. The actuators follow, placed with intent. Two beside the neck, small but unyielding. Extensions and contractions aligning the structure, not unlike the mechanisms of organic motion. A test. It is compared to the standard. The scale holds. Proportions remain true. The foundation is sound. Below, the remaining structure locks into place. The spine extends, the waist defined. A stabilizing actuator is added, bridging the upper and lower halves, ensuring balance against external force. There is no uncertainty. Every component finds its place. Precision is not a luxury, it is a requirement. PCBWay offers advanced 3D printing, PCB prototyping, and manufacturing services, ensuring every component meets exact specifications. Their support is meticulous, their quality uncompromising. Within the Dominion, efficiency is paramount, and PCBWay delivers. A single part, custom-made, finds its place, small in scale yet vital in function. A flaw remains, small but certain. Precision demands correction. A fine gray edge, a steady hand, and the surface is made whole. For a machine, balance is no trivial demand. To stand, to move, to persist, each relies on a foundation that must endure. The process begins with careful selection. Reinforced structural elements are cut to form the soles. Each piece is marked and prepared, secured for precision drilling. Small anchors, threaded fasteners minute yet vital, are placed into the framework. These will secure Arbiter's stance, ensuring its footing is never compromised. A foundation alone is insufficient. The ankle structure is cut, adjusted, and set upon the frame, integrating seamlessly. Comparison against the control scale confirms adherence to specifications. Pistons are integrated along the rear of the structure. Small, precise, capable of absorbing impact and maintaining rigidity under force. The pelvis takes form, its structure reinforced by interlocking components. A central fixture, seemingly unremarkable, will house the critical pivot, a mechanism allowing for controlled articulation between the upper and lower body. Its installation is careful, measured, every fraction accounted for. The interface is tested, its motion confirmed. This will bear the strain of movement, distributing force along the lower extremities. The knee is set, held firm by a simple wedge. Precision dictates its final angle. A brace locks into the calf, reinforcement where needed. Stability comes before excess. At the ankle, a piston secures balance, small, deliberate but vital. Magnets align up the hip, rotation ensured. Movement remains unrestricted, yet absolute. Now, connection. The ankle and foot structures merge with the reinforced pelvis. The framework is aligned, locked into position, its form now recognizable. A structure once separate now moves as one. Stability is proven through iteration. The form is positioned upright, tested against external force. Now it stands a framework no longer theoretical, an entity in waiting. Final elements fall into place. Pistons reinforcing the thighs, structural locks securing the knees. The footage reveals a discrepancy. The waist structure, too broad, too rigid, fails to match the archived records. A minor flaw, yet one that undermines precision. Correction is required. Structural supports are removed, the side panels excised with exacting cuts. What remains is a frame stripped to its function, ready for reinforcement. A single beam replaces the excess, reducing weight while preserving integrity. The design calls for additional articulation. Tween actuators, aligned at the waist, will stabilize movement without restricting it. The assembly locks into place, each connection firm yet flexible. Now the structure adheres to the intended form. The corrections are subtle, but in execution they will make all the difference. No further deviations are permitted. The framework extends, prepared to receive its upper limbs. The first step, carving the path. A precision cutter makes quick work of the shoulder mounts, widening the connection points. The openings must be exact, ensuring seamless integration between arms and core. Magnetic pivots are installed at the upper arms. Flexibility balanced with control. The system allows for full range of motion while maintaining structural integrity. Adaptability is key, but nothing should be left to chance. The arms settle into place, held temporarily by their own weight and the draw of their magnets. A washer reinforcement is threaded into the assembly. Simple in concept, frustrating in execution. It resists, slipping just out of alignment. Adjustments are made, the piece repositioned, nudged into place. Alignment is everything. Without it, the entire structure falters. A stabilizing bar is tacked across the torso, forcing the angles into compliance. Magnets and supports are welded into the torso, locking the shoulders in place while preserving full articulation. A frame is tested, ensuring smooth movement and clearance for the head within the chassis. To reinforce the structure, the same fasteners used at the knees are pressed into the shoulders, securing each joint. With proportions confirmed, thin wire is cut and shaped into fingers, bent and adjusted to form the foundation of the hands. The first attempt at a hand proves unsuccessful, its structure lacking needed stability. A second version is built, properly scaled to the reference, but remains only a test. Finally, the third iteration is assembled to exact specifications, with a matching pair placed alongside the scale figure for verification. The forearms are selected and fitted with magnetic wrist joints, ensuring seamless articulation. Matching polarity magnets are embedded within the hands. The assembly is tested. Arbiter's hands flex, meeting with a precise clap. With the forearms secured, they are test-fitted into the upper arms, checked against the torso, then trimmed for tolerance before being welded into place. Large pistons are mounted at the biceps, reinforcing the frame. At last, Arbiter stands in full form. Fully assembled, its silhouette matches the scale reference, near identical in proportion and presence. Archival footage highlights discrepancies. The original design, though functional, is inaccurate. Correction is required. The foot is dismantled, its components separated with precision. The ankle joint is stripped down, its surface filed clean, erasing the remnants of prior assembly. A fresh foundation is prepared. A salvaged mount, once part of an illumination fixture, is repurposed. Cut down to scale, its form aligns with the recovered schematics. Positioned atop a newly cut sole, it takes shape as the dorsum, a critical reinforcement in the redesign. The revised base is secured, bringing stability once more. Arbiter stands, its frame bearing the first steps of correction. A reinforcement block is measured, cut, and welded into place. An anchor at the back of the ankle. With structure restored, the original pistons are reattached. Two brace the heel, reinforcing its stance. A third, above the dorsum, locks movement into precision. The heel is split, the bridge carved into an arch. A design once rigid now flexes, adapting to the ground beneath it. The anchoring bolts, once uneven, are held in their mounts, measured with care. No more guesswork. Each cut is precise, each length intentional. Excess is ground away. The bolts, now uniform, align with the design's original intent. The revised mounts are welded into the four corners of each foot. More than supports, they are tools of control. If needed, these bolts will drive downward, locking Arbiter to the earth. The knee bearings remain exposed, vulnerable to particulate infiltration. Salvaged optical discs are set into place, sealing the joints. The same is done for the upper arms. The elbow must endure constant strain. A reinforced conduit is cut to length, sheathed in a protective layer, and secured along the joint. A second follows, doubling its resilience, ensuring the arm does not falter under pressure. The upper arm receives a protective plate along its rear, shielding exposed mechanisms from impact. The forearm is reinforced in kind, a final layer of armor preserving the integrity of the assembly. Crash guards will extend the Arbiter's operational lifespan. A reinforced brace settles over the foot's dorsum, shielding against debris and unseen obstructions. The knee follows, a second arc of steel encasing its joint, securing its function. At the core, the central actuator is given protection of its own, a final line of defense against forces that would seek to halt its movement. With the arms in place, the elbow is granted its own reinforcement, shielding it from overextension. Piece by piece, the exoskeletal framework takes shape, its presence adding strength without sacrificing fluidity. Arbiter's frame is not just built, it is fortified, but there is more to do. Additional modules are integrated into the torso, expanding its capacity for real-time data assessment. The final and most intricate crash guard is planned, measured, and refined. Expendable material is utilized to meet IAC compliance standards. With curves mapped and tolerances set, a single, unbroken frame is cut and marked for precision. The frame takes form through measured force, each bend shaping its final structure. A single length of wire, molded to fit, follows the contours of the torso. Every adjustment must be exact. Misalignment at any stage will cascade through the whole. The process is deliberate, methodical. Accuracy ensures longevity. The frame, now tested for proper clearance, is secured in full, encircling the torso in rigid protection. Across the back, a reinforced crossbar is set in place, shielding the exposed module mounted between the shoulders. A precision contact relay is carefully dismantled, its internals extracted. The refined component is integrated as a shoulder-mounted illumination array, ensuring visibility across varied conditions. Titanium alloy plating is set into place along the thighs and lower back, reinforcing structural integrity without compromising mobility. Arbiter does not move of its own will, but as dictated by those who oversee it. To accommodate transport, maintenance, and extraction, reinforced handholds are welded onto the torso frame. The neck is reinforced with an additional bushing, optimizing its rotational range and ensuring smooth, controlled movement. EMP-resistant conduits are integrated along the spine, securing a stable link between the lower and upper assemblies. A stability feedback module is integrated at the base of the spine. Domed bearing caps are secured over the split heels and ankle pivots, shielding critical joints from debris and impact stress. A reinforced faceplate is cut from armor paneling and affixed over the head sensor array, shielding it from direct impact and environmental hazards. The Arbiter is complete, prepared to observe and endure. The work is routine. Ethyl alcohol removes debris, alongside an industrial scrubber. A pressure washer helps move along the task. Mounts are selected individually per component, strategized for optimal painting. It is only after mounting another part that I notice the presence of another. Someone watching. I glance up, hands still holding on to my work. A figure at the threshold. A technician? No. The coat is wrong. An ORG liaison, perhaps, sent to observe the finishing stages? Or no. Surely it couldn't be an archive member. Yet there he stands. For a moment, silence. Then, the one question no one has ever asked me. What happens to it when you're done? I return to the work. The alcohol dissipates, drying from the machine's form. A pointless question. An answer already known. It leaves, I respond. That should be the end of it. The IAC will claim their tool. My role will end. Another request will follow. Another machine will be built. The cycle repeats. No one questions the IAC's claim. Their reach is absolute. Their judgment final. But he does not leave. He does not need to. The words linger, despite myself. What happens to it? The Arbiter's purpose is observation, not action, and yet, the act of seeing has never been passive. Someone has left. The Arbiter is constructed. Soon, it will be ready to witness. Color is applied, a task with no great meaning. Surfaces darken under the brush, outlines sharpen. The color serves its function, but its reasoning is arbitrary. The same could be said of me. I have been assigned. I serve my function. The IAC does not rule. It does not govern. It does not command legions or parade its strength. It does not need to. Its authority is absolute, yet unseen. Not in orders given, but in power withheld. The best technology, the most precise weapons, the most specialized operatives, used sparingly, deployed only when necessary. That is what makes them terrifying. And yet, the Arbiter is what calls upon them. The Arbiter does not act, and yet, seeing has never been passive. Those who see it do not remain as they are. There is no need to dictate, no need to enforce. A man under observation is a man already altered. He becomes precise, measured. The weak-willed become fearful. The careful become meticulous. The corrupt become desperate. I paint. The brushstrokes continue, steady. Black against green, the Arbiter takes form. It is not my creation. It was never mine to begin with. It will leave. Another request will follow. Another machine will be built. And yet, the repetition does not trouble me. Not anymore. There is a quiet perfection to the process, a clarity in knowing one's place. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Heresy. That was the sixth circle, was it not? A realm for those who denied order, who refused what was absolute. The Arbiter does not pass judgment, but compliance is not optional. The mark is placed. Those who see it know. Markings must be applied. The insignia of the Dominion is placed, a declaration of ownership. No federal machine exists outside of the system, not even the IACs. Compliance markings spread across its frame, yellow tracing the legs, gray defining the arms, each ensuring visibility and reinforcing protocol. Fine print lines the forearms, a record of its construction, an index of its purpose. With markings set, Arbiter undergoes final inspection before the trials. Upon closer examination, the source material reveals reinforced copper bands around the wrists. These bands are critical, serving as electromagnetic shielding to dissipate EMP interference and protect critical joint actuators. The bands are machined to exact tolerances, seated within the arm assembly without impeding articulation. Grasping, reaching, adjusting. Excess is cut away. Efficiency demands it. Once tolerances are verified, the bands are sealed beneath a layer of anodized copper enamel. Archived footage reveals another omission, a missing camera module in the sensor array. A flaw in observation is a flaw in purpose. Camera lenses are set into place. The first, incorrect. Dimensions exceed specification. A second, more precise. Correction is mandatory. The flaw is removed. No further inconsistencies surface in the records. At last, testing begins. Each component endures its own trial. The legs absorb repeated impact, stabilizing under force. The hands flex and contract, testing for precision. The arms extend, rotate, and lock, confirming articulation. The head withstands pressure, a scrape etching a scar across its face. The torso endures torsion and compression, its frame holding firm. Exposure trials conclude. Contaminants settle into every recess, residue mapping stress points, heat exposure, material fatigue. Even now, excess buildup is removed. The legs bear the weight, friction testing embedding fine particulates into jointed seams. The arms, flexed and strained, collect grime along their articulating frames. The head, sensor housing dulled, evidence of simulated field interference. The torso, streaked with residue, proof of enduring pressure. All systems are nominal. Whether that is comfort or concern is not my decision to make. The Arbiter is a silent enforcer, an omniscient observer engineered by the International Auditing Committee to monitor, document, and ensure compliance across the Royal Technocratic Dominion. Designed by DANTE under the ORG, it moves with precision, bypassing defenses, recording violations, and enforcing absolute scrutiny. Neither judge nor executioner, its presence alone is enough to alter behavior, expose deception, and dismantle corruption. Defensive, yet untouchable, the Arbiter cannot be reasoned with, bribed, or threatened. It does not attack unless obstructed. But if provoked, its response is swift, efficient, and undeniable. To be observed is to be judged. To be judged is to be known. The honest will not suffer, but the guilty will. Resources are finite. Compliance is mandatory. Your contributions reinforce both. End of federal audit.